and Grant Hall is with us. Hall of Fame sports writer and sportscaster joining us each Wednesday on Halftime. Grant, always appreciate you joining us today. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing fine, and actually looking forward to going to the service for Harold Horton this afternoon, just because of the fact of all the people who will be there, whose lives he meant so much to. You know, we were talking earlier. I think of three people. I think of Wilson Matthews, Jim Lindsay, and Harold Horton when it comes to lifelong impact on football and people's lives in the state of Arkansas. You know, you could talk about a lot of other people. Of course, Frank Broyles came from Georgia, and Ken Hatfield, who is here now, but he was away at some different places. But just in terms of a guy that spent really his whole life in this state and all the things that Harold Horton did for football and for the people of Arkansas, he will be celebrated this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, those are events that end up becoming, just different than I think I envision a funeral sometimes. You know, it's the same as when Bill Valentine passed away in 2016. And yes, I mean, somebody loses their life, but what ends up happening is celebrating, is talking, really sharing all the stories, a lot of stories that people have already heard before and will love to hear again. And that's kind of just what I'm envisioning will happen later today. But it's just from what I've heard, and I think I only shook Coach Horton's hand once or twice, never really had a conversation with him, Grant, but it seems to me, and I always get this sense when I talk with Norm DeBrine, somebody that can speak to anybody and make you remember that conversation almost as if you're just kind of glowing when he left you. You know, that's the sense that I got from reading about Coach Horton and people's experiences with him.
Yeah, when my dad was alive, and he lived to be 92, but I don't know if I ever saw Harold Horton when he didn't say, "How's your daddy?" You know, and that's just how he was. And by the way, while we're thinking about great Razorbacks of the past, I know you got to see some of the 1985 team over the weekend that had a great time celebrating 3 wins over Texas and then just hanging out with each other and telling stories. And those guys, man, Jeff King came back. You know, Jeff King had not been here, I don't think, since 1986.
Yeah.
And Loggins told me that he wasn't going to come, and he called him, and he asked him, pleaded, and about 45 minutes later, Jeff called him basically said, "If you're going to be there, Log, I'll be there." You know, and he had a great time. It was good to see him. Kevin Campbell, the late Howard Hilton. Of course, I'm listing guys that made the major leagues from that team. Jimmy Kramers was there, and Pat Rice. I know you know Pat Rice really well, and he told some amazing stories, and I'm sure you've probably heard them. But in terms of, you know, pitching 200 pitches to each year-old before anybody knew in this country had seen him, and just different things he did. You know, he told me that Madison Bumgarner offered his World Series prize to him, you know, the car that you get for being MVP, because he had like 6 trucks and didn't need the car. You know, Rice didn't take it, but he said he was offered it.
Hey, what's wrong with a hand-me-down, Chevy truck? Nothing at all. What's wrong with that? It'd be brand new, for crying out loud. The team played to me, those 3 games were the best that they've played all year. And that's saying something, because they were playing really well up until the 3-series losing streak. And even in those 3 series, they never got swept. They never got dominated except for maybe one game. And do you think can they continue to play at that level? Do they have to stay at that level? Because those 3 games, I mean, Grant, they had it all. I mean, it was good base running, power hitting, timely hitting, with the exception of one game, good starting pitching, good relief pitching for the most part. I just don't know if it could get better than those 3.
You know, Davalon told me that one of the 85 guys said to him before the 3rd game, he said, "Hey, the wind's blowing out today." There were 8 home runs that day, 5 by Arkansas, including a couple that went over our heads out there at the Mackey area, over everything, you know. And I think it's kind of like a golfer. When the wind's at your back, you feel like you can hit it forever. And that kind of happened in that game. But, you know, it was the amazing thing to me, Phil, was Arkansas had never swept Texas in baseball had never done it in all those years until last weekend.
So just one last thing on baseball. The topic this morning on the shows that precede us it was more of the conversation of is Arkansas a blue blood in baseball? And I don't know if I go in the direction of that. All I know is that it's the most winningest team in college baseball in the last 10 years. But there's one thing that's missing, and it's something that Clay Goodwin even mentioned on the most recent Hog Pod that he recorded with Bo Mattingly. And I think it is one of the most respected programs in the country for baseball. I think that the coaching staff is viewed the same way, but there is that asterisk. I mean, it's if it's fair or not, it is there, and everybody acknowledges it. Even people in the program acknowledge it. Now, you don't have to win a championship to have what I think can be viewed as a great season. But everybody acknowledges it, Grant. You wouldn't even say that we're being quiet about it either. And for me, this team, they've got what it takes to win the whole thing.
Yeah, I've thought that since early, before the season even started. And of course, there have been hiccups. There were those 3 straight weekends where they didn't win the SEC series. But it's interesting, how a program is looked at inside baseball and outside. For example, Doug Clark told this great story last weekend to the '85 team, and he said that a Miami assistant coach from 1985 had told him 2 years ago that the 1985 Arkansas team was the best college team he ever saw. Now, you think about that, because even they had that Mississippi State team, the 4 major leaguers on the way, that also didn't win that year. Texas, that beat Arkansas 8-7, didn't win it. Miami won it, but this guy just talking about the players on that team and how they played, and a lot of it is, I talk to these guys a lot about this. You're not going to really see probably reunions like this in 30, 40 years unless maybe you win the College World Series, because guys stay a year or maybe 2 for the most part. And a lot of these guys played 3, 4, 5 years, and you build that bond and everything. And I think that's what made the reunion so special. But, yeah, I mean, you'd like to see Arkansas get a national championship and kind of validate what a lot of people around the country think about this program.
Hey, Grant, did you see the trade in the NFL with the Cowboys getting Pickens? I didn't know what you thought about that.
I did not see that. How'd this go?
Pittsburgh's traded wide receiver George Pickens to Dallas for a 3rd-round draft choice next year, and then they're swapping 5th and 6th round picks the following season. I mean, I know Dallas has needed help in terms of running back and defensive line, but now you got a wide receiver to pair with CeeDee Lamb, and I mean, there's kind of what they were missing that. They were missing that too. Yeah,
I did think they had a pretty good draft. I mean, for what sort of little I know about it, I mean, it looked like they filled a lot of what they thought were their needs. So maybe that sounds like good. It's funny you mentioned Pittsburgh. My mind has mostly been on baseball lately, Phil. And last night, Skeens pitched really well, but for some reason he's 0-4 against the Cardinals.
Well, the reason, Grant, because he pitches for a horrible team. That's why. It's not his fault.
Well, here's a stat for you. Last night, it almost happened in this game because he threw 102 and Liberatore threw 99 pitches, but only 3 times all year in Major League Baseball have the starting pitchers each gone 100 pitches. And it's funny because those 85 guys talked about how the agents control so much of this now. But the other thing to me that has changed a lot, and we talked about this too, and you and I have talked about it, the official scoring, you almost can't get an error anymore. Last night there was a play in the Arizona game against the Mets. A ball went through the third baseman's legs, and they called it a base hit. Now, I know it's probably hit pretty hard, but have you ever seen that, Phil? I mean, it just feels like you almost can't get charged with an error anymore. You kick it around in the outfield, guy takes an extra base, and I think it's why fielding percentages are up.
Well, that may be a good reason why. And I think the exit velocity that people can see will also be a reason why some like the play. I didn't see this play, Grant, but if the ball is hit 110 miles an hour off the bat, then they're going to give him a base hit, even if it went through the guy's legs. I think there's, I've seen that in college, I've seen that in the majors, and I don't think that would have been the case if you couldn't quantify how hard the hitter hit it. But I can appreciate where you're coming from on that. Softball.
Bobby.
No, go ahead. I want to let you finish.
Well, yeah, Bobby Witt Jr. Got his thing. It was his second game game-ending RBI, walk-off, let's call it RBI last night, on a ball that the center fielder the center fielder's playing way in, and he goes back and gets to it and kind of just lets it drop. I mean, and there was no error charge. And I guess in that situation it made no difference because it was either going to be a sacrifice fly. The run was going to score from out there anyway. But the pitcher looked out there at him aghast, like, why did you not catch that baseball?
I wanted to ask you about, are the baseball and the softball programs kind of in the same boat?
Yes.
The deal with softball is that they still haven't made it to Oklahoma City. As good as the program is, and as dominant's not the right word, but competitive in this league, which is the best league in college softball too, they still don't have the trip to the promised land. So, I mean, I see a difference between the two programs. Neither has a national title, but one of them is a routine visitor to the men's college World Series, and the other is still trying to get to the women's college World Series. So hopefully this is the year. This, to me, looks like Courtney's maybe her best team.
Yeah, and I think Bree Ellis is going to be the National Player of the Year. She should be, certainly, with what all she's done. And some people even think that Vahiva Aloy has a chance for that award in college baseball, although there are 3 or 4 guys right in there with him, for that. But, yeah, she's gotten a great following. I mean, I think the other day when there were 11,000 people at baseball, there were 3,000 at softball at the same time, Wow. And they've gone from, a 1-5 start to actually being number one in one poll in the national. Arkansas is 5th in the SEC, but number one in one national poll this week.
Grant, Matt and I earlier spoke on the Champions League match that he was watching yesterday. I'll watch another one today. He's been to Champions League finals. I think that would be top of the list for Matt if you're looking at international competition. I've always kind of wanted to go watch baseball in Japan. Maybe the Japan series, the championship series would be kind of fun. But any baseball, any Major League Baseball in Japan, it's just something about that country and that sport that to me would be the thing that I would choose if I was going to go watch something internationally. What would be your choice? An international event?
Well, Matt, was this the Barcelona Milan thing that caused Jeopardy not to?
This was in Berlin. It was Barcelona and Juventus.
Okay. Oh, gosh. International event to see. Well, I've been to the British Open, so that was pretty cool for me in 2000.
Track was it?
I'm sorry?
What course was it?
Oh, it's St. Andrews.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think then you've probably seen your international event. That would have to top the list, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that was probably my bucket list thing. Let me think. Maybe a Grand Prix somewhere. Like maybe in Monaco. How about that? Be pretty cool. Wouldn't
that
it?
Sounds good. Yeah.
That.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. Baseball season is in full swing and we're into the NBA and NHL playoffs, and BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. With the largest selection of odds on everything from the MLB, NBA, NHL, and UFC, BetOnline remains the best online source for all your sports wagering information. In between games, head over to the BetOnline Casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here.